This made the soul of swift Achilles tread a march of glory through the herby mead, for joy to hear me so renown his son, and vanished stalking. But with passion stood the other souls struck, and each told his bane. Only the spirit Telamonian kept far off, angry for the victory I won from him at fleet, though through arbitrary of all a court of war pronounced it mine, and Pallas' self. Our prize were the arms divine of great Aeacides, proposed to our fames by his bright mother at his funeral games. I wish to heaven I ought not to have won, since for those arms so high a head so soon the base earth covered, Ajax, that of all the host of Greece had person capital and acts as eminent, excepting his whose arms those were, in whom was not amiss. I tried the great soul with soft words and said, Ajax, great son of Telamon, arrayed in all our glories, what? Not dead resign thy wrath for those cursed arms? The powers divine in them forged all our banes. In thine own one, in thy grave fall all our tower was overthrown. We mourn, for ever maimed, for thee as much as for Achilles. Nor thy wrong doth touch, in sentence, any but Saturnius' doom, in whose hate was the host of Greece become a very horror, who expressed it well in signing thy fate with this timeless hell. Approach then, king of all the Grecian merit, repress thy great mind and thy flamy spirit, and give the words I give thee worthy ear. All this no word drew from him, but less near the stern soul kept. To other souls he fled, and glid along the river of the dead. Though anger moved him, yet he might have spoke, since I to him. But my desires were struck with sight of other souls, and then I saw Minos, that ministered to death a law, and Jove's bright son was. He was set and swayed a golden sceptre, and to him did plead a sort of others, set about his throne in Pluto's wide-doored house, when straight came on mighty Orion, who was hunting there, the herds of those beasts he had slaughtered here in desert hills on earth. A club he bore, entirely steel, whose virtues never wore. Tydeus I saw, to whom the glorious earth opened her womb, and gave unhappy birth. Upwards and flat along the pavement lay his ample limbs, that spread in their display 9 acres compass. On his bosom sat 2 vultures digging, through his caul of fat, into the liver with their crooked beaks, and each by turns the concrete entrail breaks, as smith their steel beat, set on either side. Nor doth he ever labor to divide his liver and their beaks, nor with his hand offer them off, but suffers by command of the angry thunderer, offering to enforce his love Latona, in the close recourse she used to Pytho through the dancing land, smooth Panopeus. I saw likewise stand up to the chin, amidst the liquid lake, tormented Tantalus, yet could not slake his burning thirst. Oft, as his scornful cup the old man would taste, so oft 'twas swallowed up, and all the black earth to his feet descried. Divine power plagued him, the lake still dried. About his head on high trees clustering hung pears, apples, granates, olives ever young, delicious figs, and many fruit trees more of other burden, whose alluring store, when the old soul strived to pluck, the winds from sight in gloomy vapors made them vanish quite. There saw I Sisyphus in infinite moan, with both hands heaving up a massy stone, and on his tiptoes racking on his height, to wrest up to a mountain top his freight. When pressed to rest it there, his nerves quite spent, down rushed the deadly quarry, the event of all his torture new to race again, to which straight set his never rested pain. The sweat came gushing out from every pore, and on his head a standing mist he wore, reeking from thence, as if a cloud of dust was raised about it. Down with these was thrust the idol of the force of Hercules, but his firm self did no such fate oppress. He feasting lives among the immortal states. White-ankled Hebe and himself made mates in heavenly nuptials. Hebe, Jove's dear race, and Juno's, whom the golden sandals grace. About him flew the clamours of the dead like fowls, and still stooped, cuffing at his head. He with his bow like night stalked up and down, his shaft still knocked, and hurling round his frown at those vexed hoverers, aiming at them still, and still, as shooting out, desired to still a hard baldric wore he thwart his breast, the thong all gold, in which were forms impressed, where art and miracle drew equal breaths, in bears, boars, lions, battles, combats, deaths, who wrought that work did never such before, nor so divinely will do evermore. Soon as he saw, he knew me and gave speech. Son of Laertes, high in wisdom's reach, and yet unhappy wretch, for in this heart of all exploits achieved by thy desert, thy worth but works out some sinister fate, as I in earth did. I was generate by Jove himself, and yet past mean oppressed by one my far inferior, whose proud hest imposed of hard labours on my hand. Of all which one was to descend the strand and hale the dog from thence. He could not think an act that danger could make deeper sink, and yet this depth I drew and fetched as high as this was low the dog. The deity of sleight and wisdom, as of downright power, both stooped and raised, and made me conqueror. This said, he made descent again as low as Pluto's court. When I stood firm, for show of more heroes of the times before, and might perhaps have seen my wish of more, as Theseus and Persephone derive from roots of deity. But before the achieved rare sight of these, the rank-souled multitude and infinite flocks rose, venting sounds so rude that pale fear took me, lest the Gorgon's head rushed in amongst them, thrust up in my dread by grim Persephone. I therefore sent my men before to ship, and after went, where, bordered, set, and launched, the ocean wave our oars in forewinds speedy passage gave. Odyssey, Book 12, The Argument. He shows from hell his safe retreat to the isle Aea, Circe's seat, and how he escaped the sirens' calls, with the erring rocks and waters falls that Scylla and Charybdis break, the sun's stolen herds, and his sad wreak both of Ulysses' ship and men, his own head scaping scarce the pain. Another argument. Moo. The rocks that erred, the sirens call, the sun's stolen herd, the soldiers fall. Our ship now passed the straits of the ocean flood. She ploughed the broad sea's billows and made good the isle Aea, where the palace stands of the early riser with the rosy hands, active Aurora, where she loves to dance, and where the sun doth his prime beams advance. When here arrived, we drew her to the land, and trod ourselves the re-saluted sand, found on the shore fit resting for the night, slept and expected the celestial light. Soon as the white and red mixed-fingered dame had gilt the mountains with her saffron flame, I sent my men to Circe's house before, to fetch deceased Alpiner to the shore. Straight swelled the high banks with felled heaps of trees, and full of tears we did do exequies to our dear friend, whose corse consumed with fire and honoured arms, whose sepulchre entire, and over that a column raised, his oar, curiously carved to his desire before. Upon the top of all his tomb we fixed, of all rites fit his funeral pyre was mixed. Nor was our safe ascent from hell concealed from Circe's knowledge, nor so soon revealed, but she was with us, with her bread and food and ruddy wine brought by her sacred brood of woods and fountains. In the midst she stood and thus saluted us, Unhappy men that have, informed with all your senses, been in Pluto's dismal mansion. You shall die twice now, where others, that mortality in her fair arms holds, shall but once decease. But eat and drink out all conceit of these, and this day dedicate to food and wine, the following night to sleep. When next shall shine the cheerful morning, you shall prove the seas. Your way and every act ye must address, my knowledge of their order shall design, lest with your own bad counsels ye incline events as bad against ye, and sustain by sea and shore the woeful ends that reign in wilful action. Thus did she advise, and for the time our fortunes were so wise to follow wise directions. All that day we sat and feasted. When his lower way the sun had entered, and even the high, my friends slept on their gables. She and I, led by her fair hand to a place apart, by her well sorted, did to sleep convert our timid powers. When all things fate let fall in our affair she asked, I told her all, to which she answered, These things thus took end, and now to those that I inform attend, which you remembering, God himself shall be the blessed author of your memory.